sometimes it becomes very funny when they ask about my religion, and they know very little about Islam, and especially they are astonished by the way we fast, and they say, oh, how can you fast for a whole month, you will die of starving, and blah blah blah. And our different customs are strange to them. But the most funny thing which I came across was when one of my colleague of mine asked me about having more than one wife, and they were very. As soon as like he asked me that question, can you marry more than one wife? I said yes. The whole of the staff left their work and started looking at me in with the strange eyes, and then they started asking me all the funny questions like, how can you marry a woman? Don't you think it's injustice on the part of women? And so why women are not allowed to have more than one husband? And Islam promotes inequality. At that point, I realized that it's another misconception in the minds of the people who have not a frequent interaction with the Muslims, that Muslim men always marry more than one woman. So I decided to make this video. My first point is marrying more than one woman is absolutely not an obligation on the part of the Muslim. So if we look broadly on the things, there are five kind of do's and don'ts in Islam. Number one is fard. Fard thing means a thing which is obligation on the part of the Muslim, like praying 5 times a day, or fasting in the month of Ramadan. And then the second thing is mustahab. Mustahab means a thing which is recommended or encouraged in Islam, means it's kind of a good practice in Islam. The third thing is mubah. Mubah means it's allowed, not necessarily recommended, encouraged, or an obligation. The fourth category is makruh, prohibited or forbidden, and the fifth category is haram, which is not allowed at all, like drinking alcohol, eating pork, or eating blood, these kinds of things. If we talk about polygamy, and in specific polygyny means marrying more than one woman, it comes into the middle category. It's mubah, permissible or allowed, not a necessary thing. One day a friend of mine told me, like, there is a circus at I think 1 mile away from my home, and he told me that he's going with his parents to watch that circus, and it was kind of a very fascinating thing for me. And I had seen a circus show on the television, and I was very enthusiastic about that. So at last we went to that circus. I was kind of Alice in the Wonderland, and everything was new for me, and it was my first great exposure to that kind of thing. There were lions, there were small jokers doing different funny things, elephant doing this stuff, there were dogs, and there was a man with long hair, and he ate the snake. So in short, it was a very interesting and enthusiastic experience for me. But the most interesting event which moved me a lot was the last item of that series.
so good.
Marrying to more than one woman is just like walking on that tightrope. So on one hand, Islam allows marrying more than one woman in number 2s, 3s and 4s. On the other hand, it poses a restriction on that of maintaining a perfect balance, right? So those persons who are married and even those who are not married and who have good observation power will agree to me, like doing justice to one's wife is very difficult. And when we talk about justice, say if a man has more than one wives, like say for instance 4 wives, and so he has to do the financial justice. In Islam, earning bread and butter is the responsibility of male. It's not an obligation on the part of female. She can do job, but it's the providing the money, the economic resources for the family is the responsibility, sole responsibility of the male. So what happens is, say if a man has 4 wives, so if he buy a car to one wife, he has to buy the car of the same value, same market value to the other wives. If he buys a home to one wife, he has to buy 4 houses. So it becomes economically, when we talk economically, it becomes very difficult for a normal person, who works from 9 to 5 or a small to medium businessman. It becomes very difficult to do financial justice. The second kind of justice is kind of emotional justice. We know, like being a human, we have some favorite personalities and some less favorite personalities. So he should try to love all of her wives in similarly, like if he smiles to one and like say good things to one and have good feelings towards one, and he should display that same response to the other person. So being a human, it's very difficult to maintain that kind of behavior. So when we talk about balance, then it becomes walking on a tightrope. So it's very difficult on the part of man to maintain that kind of balance. Surah Nisa chapter 4 verse 128, Allah says, you are never able to do justice between wives, even if it's your ardent desire, but turn not away from a woman altogether, so as to leave her as it were hanging in the air.